It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 486. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Lahi.
Grace.
Hello.
Kodra.
This was like my second PC.
And Thalen.
Hello.
I had an IBM XT clone, and then I had a 486.
My first was same actually, because I was given a laptop when I was very small, and the second computer I had was a 486.
My first computer was the family computer, which was a 386 16 megahertz with like 2 gig of RAM or 2 meg of RAM.
My first computer was a Commodore 64.
Yeah.
I was super late getting into them. Yeah, I wish my parents had gotten me a computer way earlier than the family got a computer.
I mean, it was the family computer. I was not old enough to have my own computer, but that was...
My first was a TI 99 4A, and it was technically the family computer, but in practice it was mine.
Right.
The 486 was technically the family computer, yes, but realistically, I was the only person who used it.
I had that, and then an Apple II GS, and then a 286.
Yeah, like I obsessively played with everyone else's computers anytime I was around them, but like it was a very long time for me. Like it was early high school when I finally got a computer. So, Kodra, tell me about your experience with the Market Guild.
I honestly
or the Merchants Guild.
I didn't really experience it because I signed up for the Merchants Guild, and then I was on the forums, and they're like, "So about that gold dupe," and I was like, "Oh, okay. What are they gonna say? We're banning everyone who was involved, but we're not going to roll back the money. So, sorry, things are just going to cost billions of gold."
And the thing is like last league was impacted by a gold dupe bug too. So like, I'm not sure we've seen anything close to a realistic economy in Last Epoch.
Yep.
And we probably never will.
And I mean, so the thing is like, I don't know. I don't want to say they don't care, because I'm sure they do care, but also Last Epoch didn't want to put in trading in the first place. Like that was not a thing that they were interested in having in their game, but mass backlash forced them down this rabbit hole. And honestly, like I think the concept behind Merchants Guild and Circle of Fortune is really cool. And Circle of Fortune lets me do a lot of things and have levers to, determine what I want to get for drops. But also but also like it will always be more powerful to just buy the one exact thing you wanted, especially if you care about things like LP.
Well, so long as you have the currency for it and are not playing in a rigged system.
And like, unfortunately, we're in an early exploit often league.
You have to be careful with how you exploit. You don't actually do the duping. You just sell items for ridiculous value, take the duper's gold, and then you're golden. Right.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Which is honestly kind of sad, because like this has been a really good patch cycle for content. The Nemesis system is awesome. Like, super good.
I really like Nemesis. I like the new uniques they've added. I'm going to be trying to get one of those, but I don't want to try and buy one of those.
Yeah, I mean, I built around one, but it took me forever to actually get it. So I felt the pain, but thankfully I was like completely functional without it until I finally did get one. I've built around Warpath and the new unique sword that casts smite when you hit things, and dual wielding it with Firestarter's torch to also catch things on fire. So I am spinning around and lighting things on fire, and also nuking them with smite every couple seconds.
It is amusing to me that Firestar's Torch is like a level 3 item that just goes so far.
Well, and I lucked out. Like, I got it before level 10 this time around. Because, like, I was kicking around a bunch of different ideas, and when it dropped, I'm like, okay, so the game wants me to do this nonsense thing I was planning on doing.
I am hoping to get the sword that turns my wolves into raptors.
I have not seen that yet.
It's moderately high level. So you definitely have to start the build with wolves because you cannot get here until way later.
The good news is wolves are still good.
Like, I did end up getting a legendary version of Artor's Legacy, the helmet that is really good for wolves. Just randomly from Nemesis. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I need to get that too.
Like, that's been my favorite thing about Nemesis is just the occurrence of random legendaries that are kind of good or good enough to use as you're leveling. So I take it you are now re-leveling in Circle of Fortune.
I didn't really level much in the Bazaar, thankfully. And yes, I left that and I'm now in Circle of Fortune, which is a bummer. I really wanted to try Bazaar.
I will say, like, leveling up the faction seems to be going much, much faster. Because I'm almost rank 6 and I've not really been playing a ton. It does feel like drops are a little bit stingier than they were last league or cycle or whatever. But I also don't know if that's just me or if that's really a thing.
I haven't noticed it necessarily, but also I feel like I'm getting so much interesting stuff from the Nemesis system that maybe it would even out anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, the addition of actually getting legendaries at low levels while you're leveling that will be forever items or potentially forever items certainly does make a difference. It's just I was trying to, like, I was commenting earlier that I don't have the Leech necklace yet. And normally by now I've seen several copies of it, and I'm still working my way up through monoliths, but I don't have a full inventory tab full of uniques, and I've been picking up every unique. So it feels like maybe just the totality of what drops is a little bit less.
Or you just got less lucky.
Or I just got less lucky. That's entirely possible.
Or like I suggested earlier, you've just been way more efficient at getting to this point and therefore have not killed as many mobs.
That's entirely true. Yeah. I mean, I did wreck the campaign pretty fast and make it through it.
I mean, I didn't even do the whole campaign. I did my normal temporal sanctum skip.
Like, it basically took me while recording the podcast one week and about half of the next day to get to all the way through the campaign. So probably like 5 hours or so, maybe.
It took very little. Again, it took very little time because I was burning pretty. I got to Act 5, then I went into Monoliths. My final boss dropped a temporal sanctum key, and so I was immediately able to go through there, and then it was pretty fast.
Yeah, I think the guaranteed sanctum key, the temporal sanctum key, is after that. So
yeah, I remember getting one from a box, but I don't remember where it was. It was somewhere in the desert.
And now I have plenty of temporal sanctum keys to level up my ults that way.
I've been surprised at how non-existent arena keys are, so I'm guessing those only drop from the map or from the monolith.
Yeah, those are only from monoliths.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm having fun.
I am way behind where I normally am in terms of starting a season or league or cycle or whatever, but I am still just really enjoying this and just kind of taking my time.
Yeah, I have not engaged with Last Epoch at all because I've been going through FF14.
Yeah, that's been
thanks
my
to
main
being
time
out
sink.
of town and various other things. I am very behind at this point.
Well, like, I mean, even though I've been playing off and on in Last Epoch, Final Fantasy XIV has been getting the lion's share of my time by large margins.
We've gotten deep into some nonsense.
I mean, you started alting, and the story is long. The story is very long.
So
we're now in Heavensward, and took out Ravana right before the show.
Yeah, we're one dungeon and one trial into Heavensward.
With the second one unlocked now. I am, I think, 73.
I am 70 because Bel has one job and I have like 6.
Yeah, I am not alting at all not alt jobbing at all over here. But yeah, like it's been wild revisiting. First of all, again, since we're kind of talking about that, fair warning to any of our listeners that, spoilers up through Heavensward. Replaying through the Crystal Braves content again was insufferable.
It was so painful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, all I wanted to do was stab Ilberd every time he was on the screen.
I mean, yes.
Yep.
So, also, I had to check a thing. You mentioned that La Habrea had an attack called End of Days, and no, he did not have that before. However, the Naubrialis, I believe.
Yep.
Chrysalis Fight also has it. Yeah.
That one has always had it.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, we definitely noticed it on that one after we saw it on La Habrea.
Yeah,
They also
Naubrialis
added
was
it to the Asians in the end of Etherochemical Research Facility.
Yeah.
If you haven't gotten to that, if you haven't done that fight since
No.
Heavensward was live, it's different now.
Now, like, Naubrialis was harder than I remembered it being.
That fight was difficult when it launched.
It took
Yeah,
us.
it really was.
We got it on our third try with a group, but like, yeah, it took us quite a bit of focus and teaching people mechanics to get it down. We also did our Garuda Extreme with Duty Finder.
Ooh.
That was a thing.
Ooh.
We got it. I think it took us 3 tries on that
tries, yeah. It was fine.
But we've also
fine.
Player power has
stopped.
gone up quite a bit since that was released.
We've also done the rest of the extremes just as a duo. Today we decided to do Coil.
I know you don't need to do the extremes for the relic weapon, but you do need to do them for the teapot. Did you do the teapot?
No.
What?
The teapot.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Technically, it's a tea kettle.
Yeah, it's a super amazing tea kettle. I've got one in my yard. It's great.
I mean, we're not that far in yet on the weapons.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you do have to have completed a Zodiac weapon in order to get this quest.
Yeah. That is a longer
Yeah,
term
I have
endeavor.
4 Atmas at this point.
Really? Because you can grab those in like an afternoon now.
Yeah, but we're also trying to get through several expansions worth of story.
That's fair.
Yeah, my focus hasn't been on those. I just do them if I happen to be in a zone and it is convenient to do it as I was running around doing the post ARR content. Yeah, it's just it was a lot to chew through the last couple patches of ARR. Heavensward, I did not remember how long it takes you before you have any kind of required content, like group content. Because like Ravana is the first real MSQ required content.
Yep. Dusk Vigil is optional, although there's an Aether Kernel on that quest.
Yeah, like I
Right.
forgot that entirely. Like it took forever to get to Dusk Vigil. But yeah, it's been interesting. So like we'll do Sawmall probably tomorrow and continue on, and then I have no idea when the next one is.
I don't know, but we
It's the
also
Airy.
we have to go and have some vengeance on Nail.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got as far as Nail. We got Nail to the final phase. We need to figure out how to solo that. Yeah.
I'm guessing you got dive bombed.
No, Ice Fang was killing me.
Oh, yeah, you need either 4 people or 8 people, or that just kills you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll have to figure out if we can do anything about that.
And the answer
Because,
might just be level a bit more and try it again with more DPS.
Yeah, because like
that can be a thing.
we almost got there. Like it was really close when we weren't learning to, or we weren't dying to getting knocked into the wall. We burned pretty effectively. It's just, we
it was-
didn't quite get it.
The way that mechanic actually works is basically the ice dragon spits at people every in a cycle, and so the timing is such that it hits everyone every 2 fires. So that's why you have fire in and fire out, because you need to clear it from everyone, but not too often. So if you have 4 people, every fire is fire in, and it's easy. If you have less than 4 people, it's painful. And if you have some number between 4 and 8, some people are just going to die.
Yeah, like I have only the
answer is
Vegas
more
memories of the last phase.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember soloing Nail basically just being a matter of kill him fast enough that he doesn't get to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not quite there, but it was funny running into that wall because the rest of the place was not a problem.
I was worried about Twintania, but Twintania
No, that's not a
is
problem.
joke.
Twintania's
That's not a problem at all. If I remember correctly, neither is Bahamut.
I know I've duoed Bahamut before, because
Yeah.
Silidora had never seen Bahamut, and I ended up largely soloing it. And I don't remember when that would have been, but it was a time in the somewhat distant past, so several expansions ago. Yeah, it's been a fun little side project. But also this week, new raids opened, and we did them on Tuesday, and Thalen, you did them last night.
Last night, yeah.
So fun.
Emma, have you been all the way through now? Like last we talked, you'd only done the first 3.
Yeah, no, I finished the last one last night.
It is so good.
I was
it was a
so
lot of fun.
worried because the dungeons that are in the expert roulette right now, some of them are a little rough, and have some mechanics that I find incredibly frustrating. Just in terms of having to remember things or things not having markers. And I was really nervous about that for this raid,
Right.
but there really wasn't any of that. Everything was well telegraphed. It was, things have slim margins for error, but I don't know, everything was really fun. None of the fights, all of the fights except for the first one took a couple tries at least, but none of them felt miserable. Everything felt like the group was learning every time and making progress until we got down, and felt really fun.
Yeah, we one-shotted the first encounter, which was wild to me. Then I think the second encounter took 3 attempts, and 3 and 4 took 2 attempts each.
I think I benefited from there were some people who had done the fights before, so all 4 of mine were one-shots, although the first and second did both require a healer limit break. Happily, people were real good about saving the limit break, just in case.
Yeah.
People are usually pretty good about that in new content, yeah.
The music is amazing.
It's really good.
It is so good. The announcer is the best part, though. Just the running commentary about the fight and what's happening in the fight.
Yeah, it's really fun, and the way that the tech works, where it very obviously detects when somebody uses the limit break, when the tank takes a tank buster, when somebody gets rezzed,
when somebody gets a stack from not dodging the thing.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun. It was really cute.
I have the song from the second boss stuck in my head.
It's very catchy.
Probably doesn't help that I went out and found the tracks.
I mean, I think the music on the last boss is probably my favorite, but the music from the second boss is just a little too catchy.
Yeah, the character that you fight at the beginning is a character that I thought was going to annoy me, but I ended up, falling in love with that character. It's such a pure character.
Yeah, no, in fact, she's great.
Is this the 24-man raid or the 8-man?
This is the 8-man.
8-player. Yeah, this is the one that will eventually have Savage.
Okay, is this the only version that's open, and eventually they'll open up
Yeah,
How many versions do they
Savage
open?
opens in 2 weeks.
Yep. So Savage opens it in 2 weeks, and also the new Tombstone is available in 2 weeks.
But yeah, so far we've got the first 4 areas of the 8-man raid, and then there'll be 2 more wings with 4 areas each, and then alternating with the 24-man.
And they're all basically like pseudo pro wrestling themed, which again was a thing I wasn't sure if I would like or not, because I'm like not the biggest pro wrestling person in the world, but also like it was so good.
It works really well, and it's a good excuse for enemies with really cool powers, the way they set it up.
Yep.
And much like most of the rest of the Dawntrail expansion, again, the stakes are lower than previous 8-man raids. Like starting out, it's just, there's a whole arena, and that they want to get started back up, and they want you to compete in it. So compete in the arena, and you'll get prizes. And a thing is revealed partway in that, raises the stakes a little bit. But even then, it's still fairly personal, like stakes on an individual person basis. It's not like the life or death of an entire nation, even. Yeah. So, it can just be like, we're gonna fight in the arena and beat up dudes with crazy powers for loot,
including one that just blatantly cheats.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Screw that guy. He cheats, and then when the ref calls him on it, he punches the ref.
Yeah, it was so good. I am looking forward to Tuesday, which I guess is reset, and running them again because I want more, fractional gear.
I just want to run them again. I was actually a little sad that I got the pieces that I had rolled on and didn't have an excuse to run any of them second time.
Like, it was interesting because, like, traditionally, like, I was always iffy about tanking for randos in these raids, but like I had a lot of fun doing it, and ultimately ended up main tanking most of them, just because
tanking raid fights tends not to be that bad. Normal raid fights, anyway.
Like, there were a couple cases where like somebody went out and tried to pull aggro first and then died, and then I ended up tanking anyway.
Not an uncommon situation, honestly.
I did run into the situation in the 4th raid where one of the healers had run the raid before and did not realize that it was a coin flip as to which side of the arena was safe for one particular attack, and rescued me to the wrong side of the arena.
Oh no!
And then apologized profusely.
Oh man!
And my response was, "It's cool. I probably would have messed it up anyway." And I gave her my commendation, and I'm pretty sure she gave me hers.
Well, like, the only negative that we had is we had a Reaper that was throwing shade at people.
That was the third boss.
On the first night of a brand new raid.
No.
Yeah, like for one wipe, we got that fight in what, 2 attempts?
No, that was 2.
2 attempts.
Yeah, we nailed it the second time. Like, and they were salty about the wipe the first time.
Oh, boo.
Like, I'm sorry if any of our listeners are Reaper mains, but like, so far Reapers are just awful people.
Oh, come on.
It's like all the edgelords that used to play Dark Knight decided to main Reaper instead. Because like,
it's an edgelordy DPS. So
yeah, exactly. So it's even more so. I've not had good luck, especially on Dynamis, with Reapers. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to running again next week.
Yeah, it's good.
So, other thing that happened this week is we had a full reveal of the Path of Exile League, and my God, does this league look like nonsense?
So there's like a city building element where you can send dudes off to run maps that you don't want to bother with.
It is vaguely like the city building from like Heroes of Might and Magic. Like, you go out and gather resources, and there'll be resource nodes and maps, and it is a fight in the circle mechanic, as is most of the other mechanics of the world, where like, you know, walking into the circle will spawn a bunch of ads, and if you beat the ads, you auto tag that resource for harvesting, and you know, your little miners or whatever will pop into the zone and harvest the thing, and take it back to your town. And then you can spend those resources along with gold, which is now dropping, to build out additional functionality in your town. So like you're essentially building the main town from Path of Exile 2. Because King's March is like one of the major towns in Path of Exile 2. You were building King's March, which is a home for the Kalgurr on Rayclast.
Who are the Kalgurr?
Expedition people.
Oh, right.
So, like,
They,
you know...
They definitely didn't fight in a bloody civil war.
Yeah. There's so many things that look cool about it. Like, by the time we reach the midpoint of a league, we are just glutted with maps that we don't want to run. And be able to throw those into a bin and have NPCs run them, even if they don't return much, like that's at least something to do with them. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Like there's so many functions, like there's so many things that are coming in the 30,000 word patch notes.
Most of those words are, well, totems were annoying, so let's get rid of them.
But also, we turned banners into totems.
Words there.
We turned banners into totems too, so banners are dead.
I mean, they definitely killed banners because 3 of them are conditional defenses.
Right. So banner is the only usable
going
one.
to use them.
I mean, I used banners a lot while leveling, at least, because they were a low reservation way to throw some benefit onto your character.
Oh, I had Dread Banner in my final build.
I was about to say most melee builds use Dread Banner.
Yeah, so
most of them use Dread Banner or War Banner. Defiance Banner used to be a thing, but got beaten into the ground long ago. Probably about a year ago now.
I mean, there were a couple times that I used I think it's War Banner, so I didn't have to run accuracy, because it was enough to push me across the threshold.
But in compensation, all melee abilities like had their numbers almost doubled.
Yeah. Melee is now a thing. Probably more important than that.
Melee was already a thing. It's just a better thing.
Melee as melee is a thing.
Fair.
Bone Shatter always existed.
I mean, like most
Bone Shatter existed, Blade Flurry existed. A bunch of melee builds always existed.
Most melee builds were basically doing something as a technicality. They were abusing some mechanic.
A number of fairly popular melee-ish and actually melee builds.
Oh, well, they are a Path of Exile build, so clearly they are all doing something unintended if they are quote-unquote competitive.
Correct.
Accurate.
Yeah,
that's
like,
true.
You saying, oh, well, all of these melee builds were doing something weird to make the melee work. That is true of every Path of Exile build.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Like, I take these abilities off the shelf and put them together and make them work in a way that is intuitive is going to be a viable build in this game.
You're not
might be now, actually.
I think now you could literally play any melee ability with armor and quality on your weapon.
Things you need to know, like how to make a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also need to know, like, if you're playing, a lot of the better melee abilities still have things that you have to solve for, like Bone Shatter. How are you solving for trauma?
Some form of recovery.
And armor and the ways to not just instantly one-shot yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's a lot of things that were taken out back and shot.
A surprising one that I don't think anybody saw coming, but only people haven't even bothered to comment on, is Divine Blessing just getting completely
it's just gone. Divine Blessing as a concept is gone unless you were wearing
March of the Legion.
That's the only way to have a divine blessing anymore.
So,
Which I believe also prevents that aura from affecting you, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember.
I think it also gives it generosity support. No, I guess not. I'm confusing that with something else. Whatever.
This is interesting for Hexblast as well, because now they care probably way less about having a lot of energy shield at all. Because there is an amount of energy shield that you wanted to make sure you had as a Hexblaster so that you could cast your Divine Blessing. Or I don't know, maybe this is to try and get people to stop just always going into Eldritch Battery.
Eldritch Battery is a cost to your survivability. It's like not a nothing cost.
You're absolutely correct.
Unless you also go mind over matter, which is a thing I have done before, and it's kind of amazing. But
I've done it, but also it can also be a little janky because like you can run into a situation where if you're getting hit a lot, you can't cast anything.
yes, if you are dying and getting hit,
It's gonna help you.
There's no
die.
mana potion you can hit to get your energy shield back, so maybe you can't use abilities.
Yeah, like it's gonna help you die. It's gonna help you die real good. Magic Find is dead, basically.
Sort
That's
of,
probably good.
but that's probably for
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that's going away, and most people aren't complaining very much.
Nah, basically they did away with item quantity, which was the stat that people cared about most because if you just make more things drop, more things are going to drop at higher rarities just naturally.
Also, level item rarity is such a bad item rarity only affects the likeliness for something to be normal magic rare or unique. This doesn't apply to currencies at all. This doesn't apply to the things that people most want to see drop at all.
Right.
I mean, the thing people most want to see drop are T0 uniques, but other than that, yeah, no, item rarity doesn't do a ton.
So
But
yes,
in order to
item
get those
quantity was-
T0s, you need to have a lot of things dropping for the chance of seeing one to go up enough.
Right. The thing I'm most amused about is the stat on Venter's Gamble, the item quantity stat. It's being
Venture's
replaced
Gamble
by
got better. Like as
being
just
replaced by our reservation efficiency.
just
So-
as a ring for use purposes, like it's a better ring than it ever was.
Maybe it is.
Well, okay, if you get a well rolled one, it is a better ring than it ever was.
Yeah, but people were getting Venter's Gamble for a reason. So it's going to go down in cost. Oh man, that's another thing they
Honestly,
introduced.
it might not. 15% mana reservation efficiency on a ring.
That's pretty
That
good.
might be a very valuable item.
Really good, yeah.
They also introduced gold that drops off of mobs.
Right. That is the currency of the new system.
It is not a means, it is the basic currency, and you cannot trade it to facilitate goods or services.
Right.
Like you
Not
can't
with
like
players.
they invented gold and they said in this game where you can trade everything, not gold. You can't trade gold.
Yep.
What are we doing here?
It makes sense to me. Like it is the tax currency for the brand new currency exchange so that you can have an auction house in game with other players to swap currency, aka the thing that was actually a pain to trade. Like items trades never seemed that painful. Buying catalysts or oils or
Yes.
that was always the hell. Or I need to buy a large quantity of essences of a specific type because I have a crafting project.
Yeah, I'll be honest. This is going, now that I'm thinking about it, this is going to help me with my ability to buy the delve items,
Yes.
honestly.
I will probably sell significantly
Where those are
more
going to be
delve
ending up.
items as a result of this.
Well,
Because the problem
so-
with buying delve items or selling delve items was I would open up a thing and then I would just click names going down
Yeah.
and get go through an entire page of no response.
So, okay.
Tended to be the way it went for any currency type items.
This was brought up during the Q&A stream. This system exists entirely because Mark Roberts needed catalysts and messaged over 100 players without getting a single response. Like, this is why we finally have an auction house, is because, yes, it is an awful experience to trade anything.
Because they finally realized their existing system is garbage.
Like trading items has never been that bad. Like, I want to buy this item. Chances are you're probably going to get a response on an item unless it's just like a 1C item. But I need to buy 30 catalysts.
To list an item, you need to specifically put it in a stash tab to sell. Some people just have their currency tab listed in a public tab, and they don't pay any attention to that.
Right.
Now, will it be possible to reserve blocks of currencies? Like,
what do you mean?
I have 90 divs. I want to sell 20 of them.
So this is a whole other screen that you go to.
It's not related to the current trade system at all.
Okay.
You have to talk to the. It's actually the fence dude from Heist.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so you basically open up a window and say, I want to list this item for this currency. And then it goes in as a sell order. Or, I mean, you can technically create buy orders if you want to, sell a div for a quantity of the item that you're wanting to buy. But you just place them and then they go off into the ether. And when the trade happens, it's bank to bank trade. So like it leaves their bank, goes into your bank, and you get a notice saying your trade is done. Like that is going to improve so much. Just random things you need. You need to buy some scarabs? Mm-hmm. No problem. Get some scarabs.
Why can I not have this system for other items as well?
Because all of these items are fungible.
Right. Yeah.
They're only letting you do this for fungible items.
Why?
Yeah, right. Well, they said during the Q&A that this is a test to see, and this is the easiest thing that they could do. These are all items that are stackable and are non-itemized.
But also for playing the game to actually mean anything, trade has to have friction.
Okay.
But they said that if this works well, they would like to implement something like this for itemized items.
I think it does work differently on the console. Like, I think console already has something similar to this, if I remember correctly, for itemized items.
The Chinese client has actual just a auction house that works somewhat like this.
Okay. I just know trade is different on console somehow.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I know the provider, like there were a bunch of requirements for the Chinese market, and having an auction house was one of them. So they've had an auction house all this time.
Interesting. I wonder if the baseline currency's value is going to go down.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I still think chaos and divs will be the primary trading resource.
I think they will be the primary trading resource for itemized items. But I think the cost of like every other currency item is going to go up because it's just going to be easier to transmit those. And while divs are used divs are used a decent amount as part of the economy, chaos, it's a lot less used, I think. I guess it's used for...
What are you using other than chaos for trades?
Not for trades, but for like crafting.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
When are you using a chaos? When are you using chaos?
You don't use chaos really for crafting other than, re-rolling T17s.
Yeah, you're using
You do
chaos.
also use them, although not admittedly at a very high rate for some bunch of bench crafts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bench crafts, and also a lot of people use the map crafts from the mapping device, and they all take chaos.
Yes, that's also a chaos sync. Chaos syncs exist. They just, if you notice when you hit a divine sync, basically, you don't notice the chaos syncs quite as much once you have a bunch.
Well, and like several times during the league, I will sell an inventory full of chaos for divs just to convert up, and those sell almost instantly. So there's people actively looking for chaos to buy.
I mean, I've had to trade down from a div to a chaos more often because I need something a little more liquid than a div.
Yeah, I mean, but eventually when you get like over 5,000 chaos in your bank, you need to start converting it up because you run out
That's
of
fair.
tab space.
I have never run out of chaos space in my currency tab. It's not a thing that has happened to me at any point yet.
Yeah, it's happened to me a lot over the years. Mostly because, you know, the currency of delve items is a lot of times chaos trades.
Right, that makes sense.
So like if you sell, you know, 500 single slot resonators, you're going to end up with just stacks of chaos as a result. Detonate Dead is dead, like good and dead and buried. Like it is not a functional build in the least. So
it can, like, I feel like as a spell, Detonate Dead is going to continue to be a thing that people actually try to do. As a meta defining build, it's gone.
right. Yeah, like, I mean, you can no longer, your corpses are no longer based on what the corpse actually was, for lack of a better term. Like, that was how people made Detonate Dead work so powerfully, is they would get all of these rare specter mobs and seed their pool of corpses, their desecrate pool of corpses with really, really, really high health density mobs, so that when you raise them with desecrate, you had really powerful things to blow up. And now everything is basically a standard corpse type, like level 80 corpses, I think.
Basically, yeah. Like you can't get higher level corpses for going into higher level areas. So Detonate Dead is going to be more like a normal spell that people actually kill things with,
Right.
which does not make it useful, I guess. Like,
I mean, people only used it because it was an I win button.
yes,
It is no longer the easy I win button it once was. Just like, okay, like what Penance Brand of Dissipation is still a very powerful ability, but it is not as wildly overpowered as it once was, so people don't use it.
So that's one that I wonder if people are going to take out again this particular patch.
I think people are going to take out again because while it was nerfed, it wasn't nerfed into the ground. It was fine. It was mostly in band, especially with, I don't know, some of the tweaks, like the base crit tweaks on wands.
That doesn't affect spells. That's not a spell change. Let me back up. That doesn't affect spells. Asterisk.
Asterisk. I was about to say, what are you talking about?
I can't believe that, honestly. Like, so, okay, wands as weapons you use to attack someone with have been subpar for a long time. Kinetic Blast got some use as a way to hit a bunch of things for Corrupting Fever builds. Power Siphon got some use in a variety of, like, Power Siphon Locust Mine was already a build. The build people tried to make work and did okay with. But wands have been subpar, so they buffed the damage and crit of wands. However, wands were already the highest crit weapons in the game, and an item called Sandstorm Visage exists.
You know what's really funny? Everyone predicting the death of Hexblast.
Man, Hexblast is I mean, Sandstorm Visage is going to be way higher dollar than it was last week.
Oh, sure. But that just means, like, Hexblast is still going to be ridiculous.
So Hexblast is good, but I don't know if Hexblast is overpowered.
I'm just thinking
Whereas, like, Detonate Dead was overpowered.
Sure, Detonate Dead was overpowered, but a lot of people were predicting the death of Hexblast.
Yes, because it's good and popular, and if you can get the basic ingredients, it's fairly easy to get rolling.
Yeah. So I'm curious how they fix this. Is it going to be making the chains rarer?
Almost certainly, yeah. That's the only way they can make it rarer, is making the item that generates the sanctum for it rarer.
I mean, it's usually around a 4-div item. I'm curious if it goes to, like, we'll see what it goes to. But even if it's like a 10-div item, that's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bel, what are you league starting?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I may do old reliable, but also, like, I'm contemplating doing something melee. I wonder.
Volcanic Fissure Snaking, Bel. Play Volcanic Fissure Snaking.
I've tried to make it work twice. I've contemplated playing Volcanic Fissure Snaking. That is a thing. I've also contemplating trying to play Namahu Molten Strike, a thing that I've always wanted to work, but has always been a little bit janky since they nerfed it eons ago.
Molten Strike is real good. Like, as the ability is been hampered by being a strike skill in Path of Exile, but damage-wise, that skill has always been really, really dumb, and it got the same buffs everything else got.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I'm really sad that Champion is basically kicked when it was down a little bit. Champion was my favorite base for bows, and it is not amazing anymore.
Speaking of ascendancy changes, do we know why? What was the reason for getting rid of Raider?
It
Wasn't
very
really
popular
good at
and/or
anything.
Yeah,
Like-
but Assassin still exists.
Assassin might be good now. Assassin might be really good now.
Yeah.
Um,
Raider was
a
good
change that went under a lot of radars is a change to a keynote called Perfect Agony. Keystone called Perfect Agony, which causes ailments to, instead of using dot multiplier, use a crit multiplier.
Ooh.
You only inflict ailments on crit, so you do need a lot of crit, but that's going to result in some very silly poison numbers. Assassin might actually be the best place to put that.
I'm actually a little curious if that is specifically for like dots applied by melee or.
And no, nothing says melee there.
Where is that? Because I'm kind of wondering.
Lower right hand side of the tree ish, I believe.
Kind of wondering about that for Hex Blast.
You aren't applying ailments. You definitely don't want your crits to not do extra damage.
Oh, true.
Why would you want that?
True.
That's not an ailment build. You can stack poisons. You can't stack bleeds or ignites. I could see a potential like one-shot earthquake build taking Perfect Agony though. You can guarantee you crit. That's an interesting thing that I had not thought about before now.
I love Sunder, and I keep wondering, is there a Sunder build that's viable?
Probably, because there was a Sunder build that was almost viable that I played several patches ago and several patches in a row.
I mean, you were playing it as a Berserker, weren't you? And Berserkers are kind of not amazing now.
I don't know what gave you that impression.
I don't know. It seemed like they lost some of their goodness.
Everything about Rage got changed.
Yes.
And I'm not sure for the better.
So it is going to be better for most builds using Rage are going to be better with the current version of Rage than they were with the previous version of Rage. However, there's an amount of attack speed that you need to get from somewhere, which is another reason why Berserker is looking really interesting. Because one, it adds attack speed back to Rage, and two, it's got a bunch of stuff with blitz charges and crit that might be really interesting to start going into.
I wondered about some sort of a Bleed Sunder with Gladiator.
Nope, don't do that.
Okay. That's not a viable option.
Those things you just said do not combine well together.
Okay.
Gladiator, bleed, fine. A Sunder as the delivery method for that bleed, no. You want either a big hit or fast hits. Basically, whether or not you take Crimson Dance or not. And Crimson Dance is looking less attractive with the stuff Gladiators are providing you. So really, you want the big hit. It might be really funny to do Earthquake Gladiator. A thing I had not thought about either.
I am currently pretty sure I'm going to try a Flicker Strike build. Because I've always kind of wanted to try that. It was either that or Consecrated Path of Endurance.
I mean, stock up on Dramamine.
It's fine. It's not going to be worse than Hex Blast.
I was going to say, Hex Blast can throw some stuff on the screen.
Yeah, but like Flicker Strike, you're
Strike
throwing
instantaneously moves you, so it is it can be disorienting for a lot of people.
It's throwing you around the screen. I mean, I think Lightning Warp is maybe the only thing that's more disorienting.
In order to build Lightning Warp that way, you have to do work.
Like there's a Flicker Strike effect you can get off Headhunter, and I hate it. Like anytime I've killed one of those monsters and I am Flicker Striking around the map, it's just miserable. Okay, so like that was a weird thing. One of the things that you can do in the town is build like a blacksmith, and you can add crazy enchants off of previously off of uniques onto your rare gear. And one of those that's available is the replica Headhunter that you can just enchant on a belt.
There's going to be a lot of crazy things going on in this league.
Like, Replica Headhunter isn't as good as actual Headhunter, but it's like nothing to scoff at. Like, if you could just throw it on a rare belt.
Basically a new system of enchanting and runes to make this happen.
Yeah. It's going to be
One
interesting.
thing about gold we forgot to mention is that they're also adding gold to respecs.
Yeah. So you just respec with gold.
Respec with gold instead of having to farm a specific orb that drops in a specific place and that you probably don't have enough of.
And the
That
earlier
does sound like a huge improvement.
and the earlier that you respec, the cheaper it's going to be. So like if you at level 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 decide, no, I went the wrong direction, it's going to be dirt cheap to do that. If you wait until you're, 90, it will require quite a lot of gold to respec. So I think probably for late game players, it's a little bit more expensive.
We'll see, I guess.
Tinctures are back, but also they look awful.
They're back, but different.
They look awful. Like, I don't know why anyone would play with them.
Isn't that what the Warden's going to be about?
It's one node in the Warden. Let's use an additional tincture and use tinctures on ranged weapons.
But also the whole mana burn aspect of tinctures makes them not anything I would ever be interested in. Because, like, I played with tinctures on my Bone Shatter, and it was kind of cool. Like, it was you just had like an extra effect by giving up a flask. But
yeah,
I felt like the opportunity cost of giving up a flask was more than enough for the effect that I was getting. Whereas now it's give up a flask and also have this awful mana burn mechanic. Like, maybe the unique tinctures that we've not seen that they said exist are going to be wildly overpowered and make it worthwhile, but
we also don't know what the affixes are going to look like.
Yeah. Well, the ones that we've already seen are just extremely watered down versions of the ones from Affliction League. So I feel like it's probably going to be as kind of like what they did with tattoos when they brought them back, and they're extremely watered down.
Yeah, but even watered down tattoos still have uses. Tinctures seem less like that, but we'll see.
Yeah. I
am intrigued by the idea of them just adding a bunch of things that could not stick around as permanent content in T16 and 17 maps.
Right, like the ability to just have the Mirror of Kalandra device thing show up in a map, and you can make a weird ring. Like the forest and the wisp mechanic just kind of can show up.
Make this T17 map that's already awful even worse.
They also nerfed damage by 40%. No, life by 40% and damage by 20% in T17 maps.
Yep.
That is of monsters.
I mean, you'll still have to do a T17 to get your 6th map slot, but to get your 5 map slot, you just have to do a Maven 10 way, which seems perfectly reasonable. That's probably about the right amount of effort for a 5th map slot. The new bandit changes are a little weird.
We talked about them a little bit last week.
Yeah, no longer do you get 2 points for helping out, what is his name, Aramir?
Yeah.
You just get 1, but you also now have different buffs on the bandits. I don't know if Oak is worth taking.
What's
like
Oak?
It's 40 health.
Max health. 40 health.
So my supposition is that its Alira is 15 max elemental resistance or 15 elemental resistance.
Yep.
Yeah.
I took her previously for that benefit. Over 2 skill points.
So 45 elemental resistance is the max roll on a T2 resist of elemental type. And 40 health is like, I want to say like that's T5 health, T5 life.
Sure, but you can't put, that's the best you can put on some slots.
What, 40?
What's, I guess one below the best you can put on some slots.
Okay.
Because you can only put like T1 and 2 on chess pieces.
I'm just saying for life affixes in general.
Yeah, which life affixes also got buffed significantly with this patch. Like the gear buffs are weird. So first of all, elemental taken as is essentially nerfed. Like it still exists, but it's not on any most of the items that you used to get it on.
I mean,
I
think
except for
it's-
the big items
there
you
is-
would get it on.
To back up, you can get it on chest now, and that's it.
Yeah,
Because there's the uniques to give it, and it's on an elemental or Eldritch Implicit.
Right. Yeah, so you can't get it on the Delve or the Corel helm or the Gravicious chest or a flask, or you can't get it as a corrupt anymore. So basically, like, it is now a minor component of your total defensive package.
If you are a shield user, there is still a shield. Dawnbreaker still exists.
But also they're changing how armor works so that armor isn't the wet noodle it usually is.
Well, they're not changing how it works, are they? They're just giving you the ability to have an actually reasonable amount of it.
No, Overwhelm armor doesn't work the way it used to.
Ah, okay.
It's not Overwhelm anymore, it applies Crush. Nothing has Overwhelm armor like it used to. When anything that used to have that now applies a Crush to you, which causes you to take or to have 25% less mitigation or physical mitigation. So, when you got overwhelmed previously, it was just like, there went all
You
the
have
armor.
no armor. Yeah, it sucks.
So, like,
I had a bunch of characters just go from, I'm kind of tanky to this thing one-shots me.
Right. So, like, in general, stacking just stupid amounts of armor is going to make you tanky now. Whereas
Against physical damage.
Against physical damage. Whereas previously you had to have multiple layers on top of that to make it even do anything. Juggernaut got like a baby fourth vow, which is interesting.
What do you?
But they got it in place of their previous elemental one.
Yeah.
So they used to have the 8% of elemental damage taken from armor. Now it's 15% of chaos damage taken from armor.
Or armor applies added 15% effect rate versus 8% on elemental damage. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. I think that's kind of a tiny nerf, but it might be better against certain bosses.
But endurance at the same time got a lot better and is actually doing more for mitigating elemental than it used to.
Endurance charges got real good.
Yeah.
Oh, did they? What happened to those?
They went from providing elemental resists to providing elemental damage reduction.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's just flat elemental damage reduction based on the number of endurance stacks you have.
Maybe I will reconsider the consecrated path of endurance.
Yeah, so basically the at least the Chieftain RF build that went heavily invested into shifting damage to physical to element, I think is just going to go try and stack as many endurance charges as they can.
Speaking of stacking charges, did anyone happen to the most annoying boots in the game?
I think they were untouched.
Rockcasters and Patience?
Yes.
They got changed last league.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
still good.
They lost their movement speed. That was what happened last league.
Like they're still good. They still do the thing you want them to do, mostly. But yeah.
Yeah, we're going to let you use these boots, but you're going to feel at least a little bad about it because they don't have movement speed anymore.
You're gonna wish that they had movement speed. Yeah. Ash, I know, pointed this out to me, but Facebreaker might be kind of just dead. It turns out the fact that all of these things are like massive multipliers to how much damage your weapon deals means that unarmed builds are going to have a hard time.
Yeah, almost all melee abilities that had an amount of flat damage lost it. So Facebreaker is no longer going to be able to multiply that damage by like 8. So Facebreaker is not going to be very good. This is probably fine. Facebreaker doesn't need to be great. And I suspect there's still going to be some uses for it. Although, also, one of the uses for it previously was Ancestral Protector builds. Like, literally using Ancestral Protector to do damage, which is just gone now.
What happened to Ancestral Protector?
Like all totems, it got removed.
Oh, right.
Wait, hang on. Okay, I know melee totems are gone. Are just all totems?
No, melee totems are gone.
Okay.
Ancestral
I was
Protector,
like,
Ancestral War Chief, and Earthbreaker are gone.
Okay,
Ballista's
I was
still
thinking
there.
I missed
Blisters are
something.
still there. Spell totems are still there.
Spell totems are still here, which is I don't know. I know there are people who really like it, but like the way I use a totem is also like, hey, why don't you drop this thing before you start doing the fun thing you do? I drop wither totems before I start hex blasting.
I mean, I enjoy like ballista totem builds. I think it is fun to drop a bunch of totems and then run around avoiding things.
I think I think builds that are primarily about their totem make sense.
I agree.
I feel like totems as like this support item you drop is what they're trying to stop, and that's how I'm using them in Hex Blast. So, and I don't know if anyone is doing like spell totems as their primary damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's a thing. Oh God, yeah, that's a thing. I mean, there are still, fairly popular, sanctum farmers that are totem based.
I think they nerfed the ball lightning thing, but other than that, yeah, totems is definitely still a big thing.
I mean, I think Flamewood totems is funny, but also I've seen the playstyle and it looks miserable.
That's also pretty much going to be gone, right? Because Chieftain lost its totem node.
Yeah, it did.
So does anyone know what Warden is probably going to get used for?
I don't think Warden's going to get used for much.
I disagree, but it's going to take a bit to figure out. Because if you look at it, it's a very offensive ascendancy, and it's got the strongest freeze node I think I have ever seen. Much better than Elementalist node. So anything you might have previously run on a Raider that was converting to cold, you can probably run on a Warden and have it be very good. Specifically thinking Frostblades here, but also like Ice Shot, like Heat Shiver Ice Shot might be real.
I mean, and I get, would it be viable for Warden to yoink something from Pathfinder?
Yeah, that's a thing you can do.
Yeah.
I don't think it is possible for us to state the enormity of the patch notes that came out for this. Servo did a video going over them, and it lasted 7 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it was going at a pretty good clip.
Most people's summaries of them are at least 30 minutes. Like, they're quick summaries.
The actual presentation itself was like 45 minutes for just, here's all the stuff in this league. Folks
they had a long time to develop this because Necropolis was a long league.
It was, and they've had
Necropolis was a long league without much new art.
I am really curious about how the city building aspect feels.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be fun, or at least it looks like it's going to be overall more enjoyable than, say, Toda was.
I like Toda.
Toda never felt like it was a meaningful use of my time. Like, I enjoyed playing around in Toda. Like, the Toda stuff that you and I did was a lot of fun. Yeah. But also, it felt like other than the enjoyment of just doing dumb things, my time was probably better spent doing literally anything else.
See, this is okay. So, but for me, at least having a good time is part of why I play a game. And I understand having the time you have should also be rewarding. But if you're not having fun doing that, then maybe find something else to do.
Yeah, Toda did not feel like it was very rewarding, I guess. That's my biggest problem with it. You spend a lot of time spinning your wheels and not getting much out of it.
We were getting decent currency stacks. It wasn't like the rounds were very long. You could get 6 chaos a round. I guess if you're getting that type of currency drops in just a regular map, then yeah, it wouldn't feel good.
Right, exactly. It looked like it was a lot, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a lot.
Well, this is also the name of the game with the other thing whose loot they apparently buffed, which is Ultimatum.
Right.
But that's also not fun. See,
no, Ultimatum's not fun. Ultimatum's not fun. I don't think Toda will ever come back. And it maybe as the place that Toda would make sense as a new PvP mini game. Just as play this if you want to play it. It's you and a bunch of bots against another player.
I would love to have like a Tota mini league, like a 1 week league.
Yeah, kind of like they've done with the Deep Delve or the Endless Delve before, where it's just a Delve league.
Yeah. I heard, what was it? Somebody said Recombinators were back.
Yes. And at first they were saying they had been nerfed, but so the only thing that's changed with Recombinators is that you can't get the Sentinel only abilities that used to be able to roll on things.
Did they confirm that was the only change?
That's the only change, yeah. It just it gives you a mix of 2 items. You can't get like extra items on it or extra affixes. So it's going to be like really cool, like especially if it unlocks early enough, it would be really fun during the league to like take 2 sort of okay bows and roll the dice and see if you can get a halfway decent bow. The other thing that I think is interesting is the gold sync of gambling. Like it's got it. They're putting in a Diablo style gambler into the game.
I thought
Last Epoch.
I
Like
thought that
Gwynin
already
existed. Gwynin existed, but Gwynin's not a good usage of any currency.
Well, yeah, but is that
This
not
one
true
is-
for other gamblers?
This one's supposed to actually specifically target decent rolled items, because this is apparently a thing that's going to exist in PoE and going to be a major way people are going to acquire gear in the leveling process. Like, it feels like this league is them testing out systems that they're putting into PoE too.
It sure feels that way.
I really wish one of those systems could be items dropping identified.
Me too.
So that we can accurately apply filters to them.
Yes.
I mean, that is one of the best features of Last Epoch, is that you
Really
can actually
is.
filter things.
Like if they want us to care about what drops on the ground, they have to let us see what drops on the ground. Because they said they want us to care, but as long as items drop identified, we can't know.
Right, exactly.
Well, unless we really care about the base, which they're adding new bases. Now, those bases are probably still not going to be a reason to really care.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I am definitely going to give it a spin next Friday.
Sure, I probably will too.
And between now and then, I'll figure out what the hell I'm doing.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to figure out what I'm doing between now and then. Especially since there's a bunch of single player stuff and FF14 I want to, play. So like they're buffing melee. I've been playing Sunder for a while. Absolutely, I should just step in and play Sunder, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like, Volcanic Fissure of Snaking is probably a good idea. Probably play it as a Berserker. Like, I would love to play it as a Chieftain, just because I'm spoiled at how easy it is to deal with resists on Chieftain.
I was about to say, I feel like Berserker is going to be not nearly tanky enough for you.
I
No.
suspect that's true.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But I also think the damage is not going to be there on Chieftain.
Yeah, that's my fear, is like, all of the good endurance stuff that we're getting, and also the damage per endurance, I think is what I'm going to lead into on Juggernaut. The only negative about running Volcanic Fissure of Snaking is that means at some point I'm going to have to live in lab until I find the gem I want.
So I have some serious thoughts. Like, despite all the melee buffs, I'm having serious thoughts about playing a Hierophant again, because I've wanted to do the whole Frostbolt Ice Nova thing for basically forever. That always seemed like a really cool interaction, and like it's real good. People have made a lot of build guides for it since Transfigured Gems came out.
Played a little bit of Toxic Rain during Necropolis, and I ended up specking away from it because it wasn't exactly the playstyle I wanted, but the whole Toxic Rain plus Toxic Rain of Withering as a totem is a pretty good setup. I do kind of want to build some kind of a bleed build around Gladiator just to play with it.
Earthquake, like Bleed Earthquake.
Okay.
That build is old, like very old, but I think it might be back.
We've spent like an hour now talking about patch notes. Anything else that we want to talk about before we wrap things up?
There is a Gundam Breaker 4 network test that will have been concluded by the time you listen to this podcast. I'm sorry. However, I'm very much looking forward to that game.
Hopefully this one's good.
I sure hope so.
Would be nice.
Well, hopefully you all enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.